Welcome again to the Purposes of God. This is your host, Doug Krieger of the Tribulation Network. We will be moving into video number 21 at this point in our prophetical series. In video 21, we will be discussing the measurements of the Ark of the Covenant and the Temple of Solomon. The building of Solomon's temple and the sacred cubits' capacities in the temple's interior. The next slide was prepared by the Temple Institute in Jerusalem and clearly depicts the elaborate furnishings of the holy place before the Holy of Holies of Solomon's temple. You have in this picture three separate compartments that you're looking at. This is the holiest. This is a view going into the holiest of all, and you're looking at the holy place where you have the menorah and you have the showbread and you have the altar of incense as it was in the Solomon's temple. Here you have Solomon's temple, the Ryrie Study Bible, which brings this out. Very interesting. You have the great court or outer court. You have the brazen altar area. Of course, you have the holy place. You have the Holy of Holies. The measurements of Solomon's temple, its building and dedication, are given in both 1 Kings chapters 5 through 8 and 2 Chronicles chapters 2 through 7. The number of them who built the first temple, that is Solomon's temple, are recorded in 1 Kings chapter 5 verses 13 through 18. There were 30,000 in the labor force, and then there were 70,000 who carried burdens. There were 80,000 who quarried stone in the mountains, for a total of 180,000 workers. Plus you had 3,300 chiefs of Solomon's deputies who supervised the people who labored in the work. The temple builders and the supervisors and the square cubits of the three parts of Solomon's temple. Again, there were 180,000 workers divided by 3,300 supervisors will equal 54.545454 into infinity. This 54 repetition without zero brings 33 into view because of the 3,300 supervisors, and demonstrates the 5 and 4 sequence of 5040. If you were to divide that again by 2, you will get 25.20, and the sacred cubits manifestation throughout the builders, with the Lord's presence in the number 33 working with them. That is a divine coordination. The square cubits of the three compartments, the Holy of Holies, is 20 by 20 by 20 cubits, or, if you would, 8,000 square cubits. The holy place is 30 by 30 by 20. That is 18,000 square cubits. The vestibule, or the porch area, is 20 by 10 by 17 cubits, or 3,400 square cubits. Total square cubits is equal to 29,400. 29,400 divided by 25.20, the sacred cubit, will give us 1166.66666 into infinity, or the numbers 11 and 666. This demonstrates the authority of the divine over Satan, the 11th horn, and over fallen man, 666, the number of a man. God's workmanship versus Satan's. God is superior even over these numbers that we in the past have looked at as evil and or negative, God looks at them and has overcome them, the 11 and the 66:6. Solomon says, "But will God indeed dwell on the earth? Behold, heaven and the heaven of heavens cannot contain you, how much less this temple which I have built." Here we see the third temple superimposed on the Temple Mount, and behind that is the modern city of Jerusalem. And then the picture of the eye of God, it's called, in the universe, with the temple in its midst. Let's consider Solomon's gold. In 1 Kings 10:14 we read, "The weight of gold that came to Solomon yearly was 666 talents of gold," demonstrating Solomon, whose name means King of Peace, as a picture of Christ as the Prince of Peace, and ascendancy over the number of a man, 666. And Solomon made 200 large shields of hammered gold. 600 shekels of gold went into each shield. Now let's do the math. Okay, we start off with 200 large shields of hammered gold times 600 shekels of gold each will give us 120,000 shekels. The number 12 is considered God's ultimate purpose in man. That is 3, the number of God, times 4, creation, equals 12. Also, there are 12,000 furlongs on each side of the New Jerusalem, which we know equals 1,500 miles per side. Then he also made 300 shields of hammered gold. 3 minas of gold went into each shield. 1 Kings 10:14 through 20. A mina is equal to 1,000 gerahs. Now, 3,000, that is 3 minas per shield, into 300, or 33, or 3,300. These are all his numbers. The king put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon, 1 Kings 10:17, and we'll consider the house of the forest of Lebanon. We're now going to be discussing the house of the forest of Lebanon. But Solomon took 13 years to build his own house. He also built the house of the forest of Lebanon. Its length was 100 cubits, its width 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits, with 4 rows of cedar pillars and cedar beams on the pillars. It was paneled with cedar above the beams that were 45 pillars, 15 in a row. Please note that the measurements of the house of the forest of Lebanon is 1/3 that of Noah's Ark, and the measurements very similar except on the length. In Genesis 6:15 we read that the length of the ark was 300 cubits, juxtaposed to the house of the forest of Lebanon, which was 100 cubits. The width was 50 cubits, identical to that of the Noah's Ark, the Noah's Ark being identical to that of the house of the forest of Lebanon. And the height was 30 cubits, identical to the house of the forest of Lebanon. This means that the house of the forest of Lebanon was approximately 1/3 the size of Noah's Ark, which would equal 33.33, the divine imprimatur. He also made the hall of pillars. Its length was 50 cubits, and its width 30 cubits. Then he made a hall for the throne, the hall of judgment, where he might judge. 1 Kings 7, verses 1 through 7. Moreover, the king made a great throne of ivory, and overlaid it with pure gold. The throne had 6 steps, and the top of the throne was round at the back. There were armrests on either side of the place of the seat, and 2 lions stood beside the armrests. 12 lions stood there, one on each side of the 6 steps. Nothing like this had been made for any other kingdom. 1 Kings 10:18 through verse 20. Indeed, this demonstrates the Lion of the tribe of Judah. The armory of the house of the forest. Isaiah 22:8. The house of the forest of Lebanon derived its name from the cedars of Lebanon, which proliferated throughout the house. 100 times 50 times 30 is equal to 15,000 square cubits, its measurements of the house of the forest of Lebanon. 45 pillars, 15 in a row, or 45 divided by 3 equals 15 in a row. 50 times 30 equals 1500. The hall of the pillars, 1 Kings 7:1 through 7. Here we have the number 15, 1500, and 15,000. All bear witness to the 1,500 statute miles of the New Jerusalem, and the Almighty's work among the Gentiles, Lebanon. 12,000 furlongs is equal to 660 feet per furlong, times 12,000 will give us 7,920,000. Earth's diameter as a fractal is 7,920 miles across, or divided by 5,280 feet, that is 1 statute mile, would equal 1,500 miles on one side of the New Jerusalem. Please see Revelation chapter 21, verse 16. This is the Lord's armory, his people armed with golden shields, transformed by the Spirit of God. The hall of the pillars. It was 50 cubits by 30 cubits, which would equal 1,500 cubits. The hall of the pillars. 1 Kings chapter 7, verses 1 through 7. Also we have Solomon's porch of judgment, where he held court. You can see him on his throne there, upon his throne. This is found in 1 Kings chapter 7, verse 7, and in 1 Kings chapter 10, verses 18 through 20. Again, this concludes our particular presentation here of video number 21, and now we're moving on to video number 22.